All right. Well, good evening, and thanks for joining us. My name is Patrick Maynard. I'm an emergency manager with the Ventura County Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services. Tonight is the Thomas Fire Burn Area Informational Town Hall meeting. We have several speakers lined up for you tonight. Hopefully you walk away with some good information. With that, I'd like to invite up Supervisor Steve Bennett. He's going to start us off with a couple of words.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I just want to thank you for coming tonight, because the more informed you are, the easier it is for these professionals to help when the emergency finally comes. And so to take the time to be out here, these people have done an incredible job since the night of the fire, up with the mudslides up there. They've been banging away, and this is the next phase in terms of trying to get us ready for the debris flows and the potential flooding out there. And so being here tonight is very helpful for all of us. We really appreciate it, and if you can pass this information on back to your neighbors when you get back, we'll appreciate that also. So thank you very much, everybody here.
All right, thank you, Supervisor.
And Samantha from Assemblymember Lamone's office is here if you have any questions for your state representative. Wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Perfect. One other quick note, you may have noticed there's cameras here. Anyone that wasn't able to make this meeting tonight, it is being recorded. It will be available on our website. You'll have this memorized by the time you leave here tonight, because it's one of the things you're going to hear us say over and over and over again. That website is vcemergency.com. So if you want to watch this down the road, as soon as this is recorded and edited and all that good stuff, we're going to post it up on our website, hopefully within the next week or so. So if you know anyone that wasn't able to make this meeting, it'll definitely be online. With that, I'd like to invite Bruce Rendall from our Watershed Protection District up. He's our first presentation.
Thank you, Patrick. Like I said, I'm Bruce Rendall with the Public Works Agency and Watershed Protection District, and we're here to talk to you about potential mud and debris flows, what we're doing to prepare for those, and how we're monitoring them in real time. What causes debris flow? Literally, the vegetation, as you can see out here, has been burned to a crisp. That destroys not only the vegetation, but the roots underneath it, and it loses its ability to hold water. In addition, the top of the soil literally changes. It cooks, and it becomes what we call hydrophobic, which literally means afraid of water. It will bead up just like a scotch-guarded piece of fabric. And it just rolls off where we normally would see it would infiltrate into the soil. Then as it pours off like a parking lot, it finds concentration points or little low points, finds a place to get in there, scour, and then it undercuts all the soil, the mud, the rocks, everything underneath it. And finally, it just flows down like a big ball of muddy water, as you saw in Montecito. Literally, when we carry that much mud, the flow from rain literally doubles. In other words, a typical storm in the presence of mud like that gets twice as much as what we normally have. To give you kind of a diagram of this, we kind of have this informational slide from the USGS. So as the steep slopes are there, as we have around here, it pours off the soil, concentrates in the water, builds up in the under soil layers, and then flows down as a landslide. That's a picture on the right is about a 2-inch thickness of soil, and that black layer on top is that hydrophobic cover that you see on it. So it literally beads up water and pours it off. So over the years, the USGS has developed, after burn conditions, what could possibly trigger a mud flow. So these are the thresholds that we have used. They worked very well in past, like the Camarillo Springs, and yes, we exceeded these thresholds in the Montecito area. So we're looking at, when we talk about a half inch in an hour, or we break it down for other criteria, like if you get an inch over the course of 3 hours, or a very short intensity of 0.2 of an inch in 15 minutes can cause these kind of mud flows that we're looking for. So what we're trying to do for the Thomas Burn area, and you'll see some maps and a lot of other information from vcemergency.com, is we've broken down the fire area in Ventura County into 10 zones. And we are basically looking, as you know, in Zone 1 on the lower left, along the coast, north of Ventura River. We'll have similar town hall meetings and similar discussions for all the other zones, but we'll have a website that breaks it down for the areas that you're particularly interested in. So what are some of the known Zone 1 hazards? Most of you already know this. You've already experienced this. We can get debris flow into La Conchita from the faces of the slopes, or the landslides if we get long, intense rainstorms. Highway 101 and Highway 150 can close. We had the Highway 101 closed due to mudslides up north. We didn't get it down in this particular area for that storm. We can get blocked culverts, we can get blocked bridges. Mud will find the lowest spots and plug up those culverts with debris, tree limbs, everything that was left over from the fire. Rail service can get interrupted. It was interrupted in 2005. And other information for other oil field operations, including those facilities that we're concerned with. So what is the watershed protection doing? Our aspect is cleaning out those debris basins, those big basins at the foot of the slopes that collect a lot of the water as it runs in, and as it slows it down, it settles the debris. Gets some of the mud, some of the rocks, some of the debris that comes off the fire. And those are all dug out, cleaned out, ready to take whatever the storms will give us. We've improved the channel cleanouts. As you can imagine, as debris, rocks, trees come down, it will plug the culverts, plug the bridges, and we're doing some work to clear those out, put little, what we call bollards to kind of protect it, to keep it clear, and just allow the water to flow through. We have improved our real-time displays on our website. We can monitor rainfall in real time on our website, and so can you. So we've upgraded some gauges, we've upgraded locations, and we've repaired some of our gauges that burned in the fire. And also, we have alarm settings that can go out various ways like Twitter or on the web display, and we have lowered those thresholds to the fire debris. So the alarms will go off quicker and we can be responding faster to that. What do we do with other agencies? We work with the National Weather Service, that they do their forecasting and let us know. So when a significant rain event is coming, they will give us 2 or 3 days warning. They say, this is what we think is going to happen. This is where we think it's going to be. This is how much rain we think we're going to get. And they revise and update those as we get closer and closer to the particular storm. We also hire a private meteorologist that concentrates on our particular area, and he says, at specific locations that are critical for our information, he gives us forecasts for those. We call that qualitative precipitation forecast, which we can't say either, so we call it QPF. We also run models every 4 hours based on what we've seen for rain and what we predict for rain. So every 4 hours, we're trying to make a better and better estimate of what the flows in for the streams throughout the county. And we also compare models with our results from the National River Forecast Center in Sacramento and from the National Water Model that's run nationwide. To give you some idea of the tools we have available to us, this came from the National Weather Service Monday, January 8th, the afternoon before the storm. And they were predicting up to 6 inches in the foothills above Santa Barbara County and Ventura County, and lighter amounts near the city of Ventura and further south down the coast. And our automated gauges measured this for the 24 hours, and it was pretty close. 6 inches in the foothills above Matilaha, about 2 inches along the coast, and up to 2 or 3 inches in the hills above Montecito. The problem was the rain that hit above Montecito happened in about a half hour, and that's what caused the problems. When we were monitoring this storm, this is kind of a snapshot of what we were looking at. Everything green is kind of normal. We're well within our thresholds. Then when we start seeing certain higher rainfall amounts, those little dots turn yellow to give us a visual warning. And when they get really high and above those thresholds, they turn red. So we looked at this. This happened at 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. I was there. Glenn was there watching this. And 16 minutes later, that happened. Everything above Montecito was just pouring intense rain. One station had half an inch of rain in 5 minutes. So we were monitoring that as close as we could, monitoring to see if it was going to hit La Conchita, if it was going to hit other parts of Ventura County. We were there with the Emergency Operations Center, giving them advice of where we think the flows were going to go. So, individual preparedness, what can you do? And I'll just touch on this because Patrick and the Sheriff's Department is going to do a much more detailed thing of this, but it's ready, set, go for flood preparedness. Be aware of the forecast. The news forecasts are there, weather forecasts on your TV, the radio will have forecast. Anything that looks like a significant storm around this fire, the local news agencies are going to be all over it. Know your local hazard areas. Be aware that if we start getting debris flows, the 101 may not be available to you. So know your hazard areas. And see the website that Patrick will go into great detail in their particular zone. Quick snapshot of what you'll see if you go to that website into Zone 1. You'll see a map zoomed into that particular area, where our gauges are in that area, and a table of what we're currently visualizing at our rain gauges for those areas affecting Zone 1. That's going to update it on your webpage every 2 minutes. You don't have to do anything other than sit there and watch it, and it's going to update. And if any of those thresholds that we talked about are exceeded, those numbers in there will turn bright red. So it'll give you kind of a visual of what might possibly be going on. So individual preparedness, ready. This is about 2 to 4 days before the storm. You're going to be hearing weather reports. You're going to be hearing forecasts. You're going to be hearing other information from the webpage. So monitor those weather forecasts. Monitor any information you're getting from the local officials. They'll say, we might be looking at a voluntary evacuation, or we might be contemplating certain actions. Be aware of those. And have your evacuation plan in place. Set. This is about 12 to 24 hours before the storm. Make sure you're signed up for VC Alert. Sheriff's Department will tell you all about that. Prepare for evacuation. This is our overall target area. This is when we're going to go in and say this is our best guess in the 12 to 24 hours of what we think is going to happen, and give you enough notice to be prepared for that. And then monitor the rainfall forecast that we have. Go 2 to 4 hours before a storm. Monitor the information from local officials, and if they tell you to evacuate, leave to a safe place. I want to reiterate something that I've told these guys. We can help a lot about 12 hours, maybe even 2 to 3 days on a big flood, big storm. We see a big rainstorm. We can say the rivers are going to get high. We could see some flooding. But with debris flows, like you saw in that previous thing, it can hit within 15 minutes, and that hillside's going to come down within an hour. So we can't tell you, here it comes, because it's already on top of you at that point. So the important thing is to be prepared. So, and also in emergencies, dial 911. This was from 2005, and for those of you in the area, you can probably recognize that's not very far from here. So at this point, I'll turn it back to Patrick. Thank you. We're gonna hold questions to the end.
Thank you, Bruce. For those of you that are familiar with Jim Otusa, our geologist, he actually is out right now. He's recently had a medical procedure, so if you're not surprised, or if you are surprised not to see that familiar face, Jim has been very instrumental in this process of us preparing for this town hall, helping us establish plans along with the rest of the Public Works Watershed team. But Jim is still around, in case you're wondering. I know a couple of you have asked. He's doing great, and he'll be back with us here within the next week or so, so we look forward to having him back. My piece tonight is particularly talking about storm analysis and emergency evacuations. I want to tell you a little bit about what it is we do as these forecasts start to develop in the coming days. So prior to every significant storm, we get together, we talk. We being the Sheriff's Office, the Fire Department, the Ventura County Fire Department, representatives from the Public Works Agency, Watershed Protection District. We receive input from the National Weather Service. Our partners from Red Cross are at the table a lot of times. We all get together and we look at the forecast and we try to determine how this particular forecast may impact us. We look at the areas that the rain is likely to impact. We take into consideration historical propensity for flooding, potential, recent rainfall, all these different things. The reason why I want to illustrate this for you is to know that prior to every storm's arrival, we're sitting at the table, we're talking about it, we're thinking about it. So anything that we do in terms of evacuations is typically very well thought out, and we try to consider as much as we can. Now, Bruce mentioned there are variables, a lot of variables. A lot of times, storms, cells in particular, especially in the case of Montecito, start to develop and intensify or further intensify right before they actually make landfall. We can't forecast those things, but we always know there's a potential for something like that to happen. We try to factor in those variables, but again, weather forecasting isn't a perfect science, neither are we. So we do our best to try to get together and evaluate all different sources of information. When it comes to affecting evacuations in Ventura County, we try to have this meeting around 12 to 24 hours before the storm's arrival. And you may wonder why we wait so long. And if any of you are weather geeks like myself, you follow weather, you may notice there's a ton of different forecasting models that are actually out there. And a lot of times as we get closer and closer to that storm actually making landfall, those weather models come into alignment. So several days out, they're kind of in disagreement. One will say we're going to get 2 inches of rain, one says 4 inches, one says none. The closer we get to the storm, the more those models typically come into alignment, and that allows us to determine the impact of the storm. Again, this is all forecasting, so at the end of the day, it's all kind of, a bit of a guess, but generally speaking, the closer the storm is to making landfall, the more information we know. So at the 12-hour mark, we're going to get together and we're going to determine as a group what particular impact this storm may have on our communities. With that in mind, we're looking for rainfall potential in excess of ½ inch an hour. Now, hopefully everybody here tonight got a magnet at the back table there. That magnet has the debris flow thresholds that we're looking for. It is likely to see debris flows occur, as Bruce described, anytime we get rainfall in excess of ½ inch an hour or more. Not to say that it couldn't happen with less rain. It's not likely, it's not probable. It is possible, but it's not probable. Again, ½ inch an hour or more of rain per hour sustained in any location has the potential to create debris flow. In La Conchita in particular, there are more than just debris flow concerns. We have concerns with landslides. The potential for landslides hasn't changed. If you're familiar with what we talked about 2 years ago during the El Nino Town Hall, we're looking for moisture levels in the range of 8 inches of rain in 14 days or 15 inches of rain in 30 days. So when it comes to debris flows, ½ inch an hour or more, we're looking at as a problem. When it comes to landslides, anything in excess of 8 inches in 14 days or 15 inches in 30 days, if you can remember all that, we're concerned with landslide threat. Those are all things that we're taking into consideration prior to a storm. Once the storm arrives, our job is not done. We get together in the Emergency Operations Center. We're activated 24/7, especially if it's a storm of significance. The experts are by our side. We're all sitting there. We're all making these decisions jointly. Everyone's at the table. All things are being considered. As things start to progress, we will pay attention and take action should we need to. And I'm going to give you an example. Let's just say that a storm is potentially forecasted to be less than ½ an inch an hour. So we have some rain in the forecast coming up. Looks like it's going to be minor, less than ½ inch an hour, no concerns. There's always a chance as a storm starts to make landfall or maybe crosses Santa Cruz Island, depending on how it's tracking, that intensifies. That team is gathered. That team is gathered at the table, ready to execute additional notifications. Those notifications may just be an advisory. They may be a mandatory evacuation. And I don't want to steal Captain Ingles' thunder, but he'll talk about evacuations shortly. Bottom line is we're together, we're watching these things as they continue to make landfall until they completely exit our area. Okay, so this process has a piece up front where we're closely evaluating forecast and then monitoring forecast as the storm system continues through. Bruce talked about the zones. We established these zones, as you can imagine, with the Thomas Fire being so big, just to try to break down our ability to communicate to the residents in these different areas, because everyone faces different threats. La Conchita, this community, for instance, has a potential for both landslides and debris flows. Not every location has a landslide threat, so maybe we only need to communicate a smaller piece of information to that particular zone. You guys are in Zone 1. Again, if you leave here today, you learn a couple things. If you're in this community, if you live on North Coast, Solomar Beach, anywhere along the Rincon, you are in Zone 1. If you go to our webpage, vcemergency.com, and up at the top, you click on Thomas Fire Burn Area, you'll see a drop down, and within that drop down, click on Zone 1. And on that Zone 1 page, as Bruce alluded to earlier, you'll see all of our real-time rain gauges, you'll see known threats for your area, you'll also see the real-time status of any evacuation orders. If there are any road closures in your area that may impact your access in or out, we're gonna post those on there as well. So again, vcemergency.com. If you, again, leave with anything tonight, please remember that website. We do our best to alert you in as timely a manner as possible, but understand we have the entire county to worry about. So we need your help in monitoring this weather and the forecast as it develops and the impacts as well. And you can do that by tuning into our website, watching rainfall totals, watch that storm make landfall. You can actually see the weather radar on that site, and pay attention along with us. And know that we're doing everything we can behind the scenes to keep you informed. But if something's not making sense and you start to feel concerned, like, hey, you know what? I'm seeing a lot of rainfall here and I haven't heard anything, don't be afraid to either call us, we're gonna talk about our hotline shortly, or take action on your own. If you feel unsafe, get in the car and leave. Don't wait. Don't wait for us to tell you, okay? That's all I have on that topic. Up next, I'll invite Gil Zavladover. He's an emergency manager with the Sheriff's Office of Emergency Service as well, and he's going to talk about alert and warning.
Good evening, everybody. Wait for my slides to turn up here. Okay, so Patrick provided you a lot of great information about what we do before the storm happens. I want to take some time now and focus on how we get the message out. And we have a number of tools to do this. So what we're going to cover today. So I quickly want to talk about storm alert levels. And these are the alert levels established by the National Weather Service. So we'll briefly talk about those three levels: watch, advisory, and warning. We're also going to talk about VC alert. Show of hands, how many people are registered for VC alert? Wow, incredible. That is awesome. Great. So you guys are already registered. Another question for you for show of hands. How many people received a VC alert for the Thomas Fire? Great. So we did our job. And you guys did your job by registering, so thank you for that. Another thing I want to mention, this is a newer tool. It's called the Wireless Emergency Alert. How many people have got a weird sound to their phone? You don't know. It's a very weird sound. It's not typical. You usually get them for Amber Alerts from the California Highway Patrol. Okay, great. So we're going to take a little time to focus on that. That's a federal program. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of it. And then the last one we're going to talk about is the emergency alert system. This is one of our older systems. It's been around since the 1950s. It takes over radio and TV. So we'll spend some time talking about that as well. All right, so quickly, storm alert levels. So the National Weather Service issues 3 types of weather alerts for storms. The first one being a watch. So the watch, what does it mean? Conditions are favorable for flooding. And the action that they want you to take is to stay tuned. Be prepared. Okay, it's that time frame where we're 72 hours, 24 hours. The National Weather Service might issue a watch. It's just be alert. The other alert that they issue is an advisory. An advisory alert is there's a specific weather event that is forecasted to occur, and it may create some nuisance flooding. Okay? And the action is be aware and exercise caution if the National Weather Service issues an advisory. Now, the one I want to spend a little bit more time in is warning. Warning is the more critical one. Flash flooding is imminent or it's occurring, and the action we want you to take is move to high ground. This is where we really need to be in tune of what's going on, and we need to take action to save life, and that's during a warning, okay? So the type of alerts, again, VC Alert, I want to spend some time to talk about VC Alert. That's the local emergency notification system we have here in Ventura County. The wireless emergency alert and the EAS system as well. So VC Alert. VC Alert is a regional tool that we use here in Ventura County. What's amazing is that all 10 cities are using the same system, which is great. And also what's great is the system is very robust. We can send thousands, we can send a message to thousands of contacts within seconds. So you can, for the Thomas Fire, just to give you an example, we sent out 66 VC alerts to over 100,000 contacts, and we evacuated 90,000 people. And VC Alert was the primary system that we use to make notifications. And when I asked you who got a VC Alert for the Thomas Fire, almost every hand in here was raised. So that means the system worked, and it worked very efficiently. Another thing that's great about VC Alert is you can add up to 5 addresses. Your home address, we want everybody to add their home address. It's a geo-based system. All alerts are based on where you live. You can add a place of work. If you have family members that you care about, you want to be alerted about them, you can add that to the system. So that's a great capability. And the last capability is that you can add multiple methods to be communicated. Landline, we buy the emergency service listings from AT&T, Verizon, and Time Warner. So if there's a listed or unlisted landline phone, we have that in the system. We buy it from those providers. What we don't have is your cell phone, and we don't have your email. In this room, almost everybody's registered, but if you're not, please spread the word to your loved ones to get registered. If they live in Ventura County, they need to be registered with VC Alert. It's critical. This tool can save lives, okay? Now, how do you register? We have a website, www.vcalert.org is one way of registering for the system. We also enabled this text feature. You can text the word VC Alert to 313131 on your smartphone, on your iPad, and it'll redirect you to a form that you can fill out that information and send it to us, and we'll get into the system for you. And we also have a hotline, the VC Alert hotline, 805-648-9283. You can call us if you don't have internet access and you need to speak to somebody to get you registered. We'll do that. We want to have every method in place for you to register. We don't want that registration process to be to inhibit you from registering with the system. And then we also have some information in the back for the text feature. Now, wireless emergency alert. The National Weather Service will issue a wireless emergency alert as long as you have a smartphone, whether it's iPhone or a Droid phone. If you have a smartphone, you can get these alerts. You're automatically opted in to receive those alerts, okay? So, like I said, it's a federal program. You don't have to opt in, but you can opt out. I hope you don't, but there is a feature for you to opt out to not receive these alerts. Has anybody received a wireless emergency alert from the National Weather Service for a flash flood warning? It looks like that right there. And actually have the message that it will say. So the National Weather Service, when they use the wireless emergency alert, when they send it to your smartphone, it's going to say flash flood warning this area till they'll provide you the time frame of that flash flood warning and avoid flooded areas. And that's the message that's going to pop up on your phone. Now here in Ventura County, so it is a federal program, the Ventura County Sheriff's Office Emergency Services has the ability to utilize the wireless emergency alert system. Show of hands, how many people received that for the Thomas Fire? Okay, not too many. We sent a wireless emergency alert for the Thomas Fire twice. And what we said was, there's a fire in a specific location, go to our website, which was readyventuracounty.org at the time, but we point you to the area to get more information. The wireless emergency alert, it's not very specific like VC Alert. VC Alert, we can get very, very specific on who and where we want to notify. With the wireless emergency alert system, there's a lot of what we call bleed over because it's based on private infrastructure on cell towers. So there's a possibility that if we want to do this area, that Santa Barbara County might get our message as well. So we choose to make a message that's a little bit more broad, and we always will point you in the right direction to get more information, which is going to be our website. Now, the emergency alert system, like I said at the beginning of the presentation, this is one of our older systems. The civil defense period, I mean, they created this system in the 1950s. This takes over radio and TV. And for the Thomas Fire, we issued 2 of these as well. And the local stations, KVTA 1590 AM, KHA 100.7 FM, and KMLA 103.7 FM, the Spanish channel. And you can get our emergency alerts via that system as well. And then that picture there shows how it's going to pop up on your TV. And so I'll just end. I think Patrick had, at the end of his presentation, he had mentioned, don't wait for us to take action. If you don't feel safe, we want to empower you to leave and keep you and your loved ones safe. So we're going to work very hard to get the message out to you via VC Alert, the wireless emergency alert system, the emergency alert system, interviews, press releases. We're going to use every tool at our disposal to communicate information for you. But if you do not feel safe, please take action and leave. Okay? Thank you. I'll turn it over to Patrick.
Great. Thank you, Gil. Up next, I'd like to invite Captain Todd Inglis of the Ventura County Sheriff's Office, and he will be speaking on evacuations. In case you are wondering, these PowerPoint slides will be made available on vcemergency.com. So if you have questions, you want to refer back to any of this information, please feel free to visit our website.
Okay, hello everybody. My name's Todd Ingles. As Patrick said, I'm a captain with the Sheriff's Office, and I currently oversee the patrol and investigation operation for West County Patrol, which oversees the Rincon, La Conchita, as well as other unincorporated areas. Talking about some evacuations, as Gil talked about, there's 4 different ways to get the message out. For the most part, we deal with the VC alert and the door knock, although there's other ways that Gil went over as far as the radio, TV, and the wireless cell phone. First, I want to talk a little bit about a mandatory evacuation. As indicated, it can be given by law enforcement, the fire department, public health agencies, and in some rare cases, the federal agencies will give an order when residents are requested to vacate an area due to an emergency or imminent threat. During this time, a door knock, usually when we can do it, when we're safe and able to do it, along with the VC alert will go out in conjunction, letting people know that there's a mandatory evacuation going on. And at that time, all non-essential persons are being asked to leave that area that's affected. These conditions where the mandatory evacuation goes in place obviously are for seriously imperil or endangered to the lives of those in that defined area, and the danger is imminent. And basically, as Patrick talked about, we have teams that are going over different scenarios and things that are occurring with storms. And when it comes to a point where they believe it's time, as law enforcement, we get involved to go out and assist with the evacuations. It's also important to know that once we do a mandatory and people leave the area, residents, we don't allow people back in until the evacuation has been cleared. We do, though, provide security for those areas that we do a mandatory to hang out and put patrol resources to make sure that your property is looked after, again, when it's safe and we can do so. And in this latest, the fires and the storms, we had the National Guard and a lot of other outside agencies that came in and helped us out to take care of that. We also have a voluntary evacuation order. Most of the time that will come out through the VC alert. And again, it's the same law enforcement, fire department, public health, or federal agencies can give this notification. And the voluntary evacuation order is issued when it's not yet imminent that there's danger coming, but there's a concern that we need to prepare ourselves and be ready for a storm or a fire, an incident that's occurring in our area. And because with the changing conditions, obviously with weather and fire and things that we've witnessed here recently, we just want people ready, prepared, packing. If you don't feel comfortable leaving, animals are a big thing, especially with horses and a lot of the larger animals. If you wait until a mandatory and there's one dirt road that 100 people are trying to get up and get horses and get out, it causes a lot of issues, not only for your animals, but for fire and other emergency personnel that's trying to get to an area to assist, but is having problems because of the traffic conditions. We also have a shelter-in-place order. This was normally given out when there's danger in the area and we need people to stay in place to do further recon to find out what the problem is, or once we can get to you and reassess the issues. And with that order, we want you to find a room inside your house, preferably not windows, and shelter in place and wait and take refuge till you hear further information about if we're going to do an evacuation or what we can do to help you there. When a lot of these evacuations are going on, we have soft road closures and hard road closures. The soft closure, law enforcement will prevent the general public from entering the area. And that's to stop people that don't live there or just coming in to look or to see what's going on, to keep them out. And as far as the residents who live there, with proper ID and proof that you live there, there's arrangements made for you to get back to your property during a soft closure. Which takes us to the hard closure. During a hard closure, law enforcement prevents the public from entering the area, whether it be by foot or vehicle. In cases of the long-term closure, barricades may be used or other means to shut down the roadway to prevent people from coming in. Although for the Penal Code 409.5D, this is not to prevent duly authorized representatives from the news service, newspaper, radio, or television from going into the area unless that area has been deemed a crime scene or their presence there is going to create more danger for us trying to do our jobs and with evacuations. Again, the VC emergency.com is a way to go to the website, and it's got the information that's constantly being updated during these events, as well as the information line that's put in place, which will go to a live person during these situations that can give you more information and guide you as well.
Thank you, Captain Ingalls, for that. Just to back up on this slide, I want you to make sure, again, like I said, when we started tonight, if you leave here with any couple things tonight, vcemergency.com, that website is important. That's important. That's how we can keep you informed. We've got other tools, but we can do it very effectively if people use that website. The hotline number is stood up during active incidents. So if there's a storm system that's making landfall and it's of significance and we're affecting evacuations in different parts of the county, that hotline will be active. There are both English and Spanish-speaking operators standing by to take your call, not to place an order, but to give you information. They're there 24/7, and we take great pride in providing that hotline service. It's difficult, we understand, especially at 3 in the morning when you get a call with directions on a need to evacuate, or maybe it's a voluntary evacuation. Maybe it didn't quite make sense. Write down that number. That number's on the magnet that you all got. Call that number if you have questions. Somebody will answer your call and speak to you and be able to provide you information. Very important there. All right, I'd like to go ahead and invite up Daryl Smith. He's an emergency manager with the Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services, and he's going to talk to you about preparedness.
Good evening. One thing we all like to do is prepare. And so at the Office of Emergency Services, we preach preparedness to our communities. So disaster preparedness is one of the best ways to be ready for any disaster. So our first part, get a kit. So have your supplies ready to go. Food, water, flashlights, prescriptions for at least 30 days, because you don't know when you might be able to get back into your homes. Make a plan. How many of you out there have a plan? Do you know how you're going to evacuate? Do you know where you're going to go to? Do you have emergency batteries, power, anything like that for your cell phones, those nice little rechargeable batteries they have now today to keep you from running out of juice in your phone? It's a great thing to have. Make your contacts known to your family members, utilities, work plans, school plans if you have children. A point of contact, some family member, maybe within the state of California, out of our county, or in another state, so everyone can call in and let them know that they're safe. And of course, we want you to stay informed. Like you've heard here today, vcemergency.com is the place to go. We also have our website, readyventuracounty.org. On there, you'll see mirrored the emergency guidebook that you received tonight if you picked one up at the table. And in there, it guides you through the process of making a kit, making a plan, and staying informed. Another thing we have here in Ventura County is our app. If you have an Apple phone, if you have an Android phone, your iPad, you can download this app. It's Ready Ventura County. You can find it. It's free. And it actually guides you through the preparedness portion, as you can see, and you can check them off as you accomplish them. The planning process, it gives you all kinds of examples and things to plan on. And also how to stay informed. These are direct links. If you can't remember vcemergency.com, if you can't remember some of the things, you can click on this app and it will take you right to the website so you can get your information. Down at the bottom, you'll see a little red triangle for alerts. All the weather alerts that are issued in the area, when you see that red triangle, you tap on it and it will bring the most current weather alerts up on that app. Okay, thank you for your time, and remember to prepare.
Thanks, Daryl, for that. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to invite up Fire Division Chief John McNeil. He's going to talk about the Ready, Set, Go program on the fire side and also a few other fire-related things. So, Chief.
Thank you. Good evening. As introduced, John McNeil with the County Fire Department, and this is our pamphlet. I have no PowerPoint, but I have a pamphlet. This is our Ready, Set, Go program, and you can find it at the back of the table before you leave here tonight, and we also have it on our website. The website's vcfd.org. Lots of information tonight, but what I want to do is welcome you to the team, because this whole discussion is about all of us as a team, not only the public agencies that are sponsoring the event and giving you the information and the most up-to-date information that we have from the experts, but you as citizens living in this particular zone that we're focusing on are the rest of the team. So with that, we need a coordinated effort. The fire department also uses a Ready, Set, Go program for its first responders. And when I speak to the ready part of the Ready, Set, Go, these rescue companies and fire companies are constantly in a state of readiness, as you could assume, for all risk, but they focus specifically on debris flow issues, landslide issues. We look at the history of calls, and we take lessons learned from that, and we prepare and try and be progressive in our efforts on the rescue side of that. Quite a bit of preparation goes in prior to that. So in the set part of the Ready, Set, Go, that's when we get the same forecast that you have. The experts have told us that there'll be some potential for some kind of event, weather-related event. So we get in the ready mode. And the ready mode is upstaffing our fire stations. Not only we add additional fire engines, but we'll have additional rescue companies that may have specialized resources like those rescue watercraft on the trailer in the building here. We'll staff up heavy equipment operators, bulldozers, excavators, backhoes, hand crews, additional command officers. The idea there is so when it's time to go, it's response time, everyone's got their role. When you're asked to be evacuated, evacuate. When we get asked to respond, of course we're going to respond. The reason I bring that up, and it's obvious, right? But in the team effort, at times our efforts are limited because we have priorities we're dealing with, and the priorities never change in situations like this. The priority is always the protection of life and the preservation of property. So with the number one priority of protection of life, when we go into a situation that we're called into, it's for a reason. We've had a landslide, we've had a debris flow, we've had something that is threatening life. If life still is there in a situation where someone did not heed the evacuation order, we have an added component to our priority. So you can understand the challenges us as rescuers would have in that situation. So again, speaking to the team effort, if you can all take in this information, figure out a way to process it, get your own ready, set, go format or thought process, so when it's time for the game and we're all part of the game, when the messages go out, please heed those messages, because believe me, the responders will be there, but just the less challenging it is for us, the more success we'll have. So that's really my message tonight, is take all this information, listen to what all the experts are saying, try and put it into a format that we can all process so we can succeed as a team. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief, for that. If you have any questions, now would be a good time to take those up to the back table. I'm just going to make some last closing comments, and then we'll get to those questions. So if you have some written questions, please take those up to the table in the back. Grab a cookie while you're up there, and then we'll do our best to address those. So we tried to keep it short and sweet, just a little under an hour. I want to just recap on a couple of really important things. And before I mention those things, I just want to share with you, this process for us takes a village. It really does. And the village to prepare, the village to analyze, and the village to respond. As you can see, we've got partners from our Public Works Agency, Watershed Protection District, with us side by side. American Red Cross, John from the Red Cross. Great support from the county CEO's office, the sheriff's office, already mentioned the fire department, our OES team. Everyone is here working on this together, and the last piece of this process is you. You guys out here, we need your help. You are our eyes and ears. We need your help planning and preparing. Please do not let your guard down. Fortunately, things have been good out in La Conchita. We have a great responsive community, some great leadership out in that community, but we need that to continue. We need you to stay informed of changing conditions. And if something does change in a negative direction, we need you to tune into us so we can provide you with the most accurate and up-to-date information on what to do. Okay, so we're here today asking you to help us stay informed, get prepared, do all the nice things that we all mentioned tonight, and hopefully we make it through the next couple years in this post-fire condition without any issues. And that certainly is our goal.